Welcome to the Israel Daily News Podcast. I'm your host, Shanna Fold, and I'm here to get you caught up quickly. I've got some top news stories for you today from Israel, and guess what? You're listening, so you're already on top of your game. Survive and thrive, people. Knowledge is the best weapon. Today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025 in the Gregorian calendar, and the 12th of Nisan, 5785 in the Hebrew calendar. Passover is Saturday night, and everyone is cleaning and preparing for the holiday. We wish you a pleasant one and pray that our hostages come home and war is able to come to a close in the region. Now, let's get to the news. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz has announced that the IDF will take complete control of the Rafah area, turning it into a buffer zone. He says, quote, "The IDF will completely control the entire area from this corridor to the Philadelphia corridor bordering Egypt, and thus Rafah will become a buffer zone. All of Rafah will be evacuated and become a security area. This is what we're doing now," Katz said during a visit to the Marag corridor. The Marag corridor is a new security zone that Israel plans to build in southern Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu announced it on April 2nd, so just days ago, during renewed fighting in Rafah. The corridor is named after a former Israeli settlement and would create a third route controlled by Israel, dividing up parts of Gaza. Netanyahu said the goal is to increase pressure on Hamas to free the remaining hostages and give up control of the area. The IDF seized control of this spot 3 weeks ago as part of expanding operations in southern Gaza. According to military sources, the corridor is expected to stretch approximately 12 kilometers in length and 1.5 kilometers in width. That's about 7.5 miles in length and a little less than 1 mile in width. A senior military official says despite a year and a half of fighting, Hamas has used a ceasefire period to rebuild, or the ceasefire periods to rebuild. Defense Minister Katz says, quote, "If Hamas continues its refusal and does not soon release the hostages, the IDF will move to intense fighting throughout Gaza until the hostages are released and Hamas is defeated." He also shared that Israel is simultaneously, quote, "advancing the plan for voluntary migration of Gaza residents in accordance with the U.S. president's vision," end quote. The Israeli Air Force will dismiss dozens of active reservists who signed a letter demanding the government prioritize the return of hostages over continuing the war in Gaza. Nearly 1,000 veterans signed the letter, most of whom are retired and no longer serve in the reserve forces. The letter urged a hostage deal and criticized the war's continuation as serving political interests, but they did not suggest that they would refuse to serve. Well, that doesn't matter now. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir and IAF Commander Tomer Bar led the push to remove signatories from active duty, saying soldiers cannot use the military's name for political protest. Prime Minister Netanyahu backed the dismissals, accusing the signers of weakening the army and aiding the enemy. For the second year in a row, the Israeli Air Force will not conduct its traditional Independence Day flyover show. It's an annual fun event where the planes do tricks in the air and people from all throughout the country can see the show for free and celebrate the country's independence. The IDF says they are still focused on the ongoing war. The Navy's celebratory flotilla in Eilat has also been called off for the same reason. There will be, however, a symbolic gesture taking place with just 4 fighter jets soaring above the Mount Herzl Military Cemetery on Memorial Day as a tribute. Israel's High Court of Justice decided on Tuesday that it would give the government and the Attorney General until April 20th to find a solution concerning the government's intent to fire Shin Bet head Ronen Bar. Now, that's already an extension. On March 20th, the government decided to fire Bar, claiming that he was trying to take down Netanyahu and that the prime minister no longer trusted him. Bar claimed that Netanyahu was trying to get rid of him in order to disrupt an investigation being conducted by the Shin Bet and the police into possible ties between individuals close to the prime minister and Qatar. The High Court of Justice ruled at the time that Netanyahu could not replace Bar until at least April 10th, but could begin interviewing candidates for the position. On Tuesday, the court held a 10-hour-long hearing on this issue. Bar and Netanyahu will need to provide statements to the court supporting their claims against each other by April 24th. During the interim, the court stresses that the prime minister and the government are not allowed to do things differently at work until that point, meaning that they have to maintain their professionalism and their processes. This included giving instructions to officials in both of these two offices. Most of the judge's comments dealt with procedure, including the claim that the government should have allowed the outgoing Shin Bet head to at least have a hearing before the Senior Appointments Commission. The idea is that any decision to fire a senior official, including the head of the Shin Bet, should receive approval from the Senior Appointment Commission. The commission is currently lacking enough members to make such a decision due to various legal issues, so new members would need to be appointed, a process which would take considerable amount of time. The news you just heard is being powered by our partner, Bernie News Network, or BNN. For fast and precise updates, you can join BNN on WhatsApp and Telegram at their website, bernie.news. Liri Albag, a former hostage held by Hamas for 15 months, publicly blamed Prime Minister Netanyahu for the October 7th attack and then faced a flood of online abuse from his supporters. In response to the hate, Albag wrote, quote, "I'm not afraid of the responses themselves. I am afraid of what we've become." She condemned the threats and personal insults, saying, "Wish this upon Hamas and our enemies, not me." Netanyahu later called Albag and expressed solidarity, thanking her for her strength and offering to meet with her and other freed hostages. Albag thanked him for the emotional conversation, but stood by her criticism, saying she told him and other leaders directly that they failed. After the backlash, Albag asked Khan to remove a promotional clip of her interview, where she called on Netanyahu to ask for forgiveness and bring the remaining hostages home. Colombian President Gustavo Petro appointed Richard Gamboa Ben Eleazar, a self-declared anti-Zionist, as the country's new director of religious affairs, sparking outrage from Jewish leaders. Gamboa, who received his rabbinical ordination online for potentially $160, since that's what the website seems to charge, has called Zionist Jews Nazis and labeled Israel as a neo-Nazi state, end quote. A Jewish community leader in Colombia, that's head of the community, says, quote, "A person who speaks this way cannot be entrusted with the religious freedoms of Jewish citizens," end quote. Chief Rabbi Alfredo Goldschmidt also condemned the appointment, noting that Gamboa lacks support from Jews, evangelicals, and Catholics alike. The Anti-Defamation League and Simon Wiesenthal Center blasted the move, citing Gamboa's extremist rhetoric and ties to Iran's ambassador. Gamboa defended himself online, claiming that critics violated his human rights and religious freedom. The U.S. Senate confirmed former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee as the next ambassador to Israel in a 53-46 vote. With support largely along party lines, Democratic Senator John Fetterman broke ranks and joined Republicans to back Huckabee's nomination. President Donald Trump praised the decision, saying Huckabee would bring home the bacon, even though bacon isn't big in Israel. End quote. Huckabee, a Christian Zionist and vocal supporter of Israeli settlements, promised during his confirmation hearing to follow Trump's foreign policy, not his personal views. Prime Minister Netanyahu welcomed Huckabee's appointment and says that it is a great day for U.S.-Israel ties. In a striking report highlighted on the Jerusalem Post website ahead of Passover, researchers revealed that Egypt confiscated nearly $60 billion in assets from its Jewish citizens during the 1900s, when the thriving Egyptian Jewish community was broken up and violently driven out. Justice for Jews from Arab countries, the JJAC, which led the 6-year investigation, called this exodus a modern-day uprooting that ended over 2,000 years of Jewish life in Egypt in the years after the State of Israel was born in 1948. Executive Director Stanley Orman said Egyptian Jews had built the nation's economic foundation only to be expelled amid rising anti-Semitism and nationalist fervor. The report refutes Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's claim that Jews always lived peacefully in the country, with JJAC Vice President Levana Zamir testifying, saying, "The Egyptians told us, you are Zionists, we will confiscate all your assets." And they did. end quote. The organization that did this report says it's important to set the record straight about the silenced story of Jews forced out of Arab lands. The reason we bring this story to you today is because it's almost like a modern story of the Passover story, in which the Jews left Egypt in a scary and rushed way. Passover is coming on Saturday night, and if you did not do any gifting, the Israel Daily News has you covered. Get into Hasod, which is a gifting company in Tel Aviv that works to make and easily ship boxes of locally produced gifts. They are ready to be shipped around the world. Consider ordering from the Taste of Freedom collection. I have some of those items in my home. I'm in love. You can send boxes to friends and family knowing that 18% of your purchase will go to fund the Israel Daily News. The link for the Hasod boxes are in the show notes. When you check out, select that you heard about Hasod through a podcast. That's us. We're the podcast. And 18% of your purchase will go to support our operation. I want to thank all of you for your interest in Israeli affairs, Israeli politics, our world politics. I also want to thank all of you who personally finance and fund the Israel Daily News podcast with monthly contributions. You can support us with contributions by going over to our website, israeldailynews.org, and clicking on donate. The Patreon link is over there, and you can send us a monthly donation using that link. There's also options for a one-time donation as well. Our organization is operational thanks to listeners and supporters like you. Thank you to Marianne Vollinger for her monthly support. In response for your contributions, I'll send over a handwritten thank you note to show my appreciation. Follow us on social media at israeldaily.news. We're on X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Our Instagram page just hit 14,100 followers. You can also follow my personal page at Shanna Fold. My name has 2 N's in it, and I'm very sensitive about that. Tel Aviv dropped to 48th place in the global ranking of the world's wealthiest cities after 1,700 millionaires left the area. Henley and Partners and New World Wealth, which track global wealth migration, reported a drop in Tel Aviv and Herzliya's high net worth population from 24,300 to 22,600. The war with Hamas and Hezbollah, along with renewed judicial overhaul plans, drove wealthy Israelis to relocate primarily to the U.S. and Mediterranean Europe. These are strategic decisions driven by the war and judicial reforms, says Daniel Schmeilin, head of the Henley and Partners Israel office. He explained that families are treating their lives like investment portfolios, seeking safe, smart, and rewarding environments for both their assets and their lifestyle. The Economist also ranked Tel Aviv 112 in livability, a 20-spot plunge attributed to the ongoing conflict. A delegation of experts from the IDF and the Ministry of Defense wrapped up its trip to Thailand on Tuesday after responding to the recent earthquake that devastated the region. The mission was carried out in coordination with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The delegation included engineering and civil affairs personnel from the Home Front Command's National Rescue Unit, who supported Thai officials by offering situational assessments and sharing technological knowledge. The Israeli team helped search for people who may have been trapped in rubble. And now for a Torah Thought by Rabbi Yossi Madvig of Oswego, New York.
The following is a letter from the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, that discusses the power of the liberation of Passover. May the blessings that the Rebbe gives here also be conferred upon us, and may you all have a meaningful and joyous Passover. He writes, to all the participants in the annual banquet of the Lubavitch Yeshiva, Achei Tamimim, Brookline, Massachusetts. Greeting and blessing. I am pleased to be informed of the forthcoming annual banquet to take place on the 11th of Iyar. May it be blessed with hatzlacha, success, and exceed all expectations, in keeping with the spirit and teachings of Zman Cherusenu, the season of our freedom, which we have just celebrated. As has often been emphasized, the festival of Pesach, the season of our liberation, comes around every year not merely to remind us of the liberation of our ancestors from Egyptian bondage, but also to inspire us to strive for a greater measure of self-liberation from all limitations and distractions which impede a Jew from his free exercise of Judaism in everyday life. This is the meaning of the highly significant passage in the Haggadah. In every generation, a Jew should see himself as though he personally has been liberated from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. In this blessed country of freedom and opportunity, such total identification with the spirit of the season of our liberation pertains more to the inner self than to outside factors which are often beyond one's control. Here, thank God, there are no external constraints or limitations to getting involved with Jewish causes, especially the most vital cause, Torah education. It is only a matter of setting one's goals high enough to meet challenges and opportunities of these times. Given the will and determination, the opportunities are limitless. The vital importance of Torah education for the preservation of every Jewish community, indeed for the preservation of our Jewish people as a whole, needs no elaboration. But these days, linking the festival of Passover with the festival of Shavuos particularly emphasize this eternal truth. For so our sages point out, it is only because the Jewish children in Egypt received the proper Jewish education under the most adverse conditions that our whole Jewish people, strong and numerous, was liberated from Egyptian slavery. And it is only because these very children, and Jewish children of every generation, had been made the guarantors of the Torah and mitzvahs, the Torah was entrusted to our Jewish people. In this spirit, I pray and trust that every one of you will rise to the occasion to enable the Lubavitch Yeshiva to continue and expand likewise from a position of liberation from financial burdens and limitations. And since God rewards in kind most generously, He will surely grant every one of you and yours, in the midst of all our people, true liberation from anxiety and want, both materially and spiritually, with esteem and blessing of success, the Rebbe's signature. So may these blessings of true liberation, of all anxiety, of all need, materially, spiritually, we should have everything that we need and everything that we want. And I wish you all a happy Passover. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
All right. Well, that is it for today's show. Today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Tel Aviv has a low of 16 degrees Celsius and a high of 19 degrees. That's 61 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, going up to 67 degrees for the high. We are everywhere. Don't forget to sign up to our Israel Weekly News Wrap. The Israel Weekly News Wrap is a newsletter with the top 5 stories coming out of Israel from throughout the week. And of course, with a personal note from me at the top, you can sign up for that at israeldailynews.org. I'll send you off now with a song called Shabbatot v'Chagim, which means Sabbath and the holidays, which is exactly what the Jewish people are entering into this weekend with Shabbat Friday night and the Seder Saturday night. Did you know that in Israel there's one Seder, but everywhere outside of Israel, throughout the world, there are 2 nights of Seder in a row? Enjoy this song by Ya'ar Shalian and have a great and productive day and an excellent weekend. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Happy holidays, everyone.
הילדים קופצים עליך, הם הכי יפים בעולם. אתה נמס פורס ידיים, אתה מאושר ממש. ועוד מעט תקרא סיפור מהספר החדש. איש משפחה למופת, אתה אבא מושלם. בסוף אתה תמיד חוזר, לא עוזב לעולם. בכל פעם שנוסע לא שוכח מתנות לכולם. ועכשיו אתה בבית, יודעת, אני מכירה אותך. אני יודעת בדיוק איפה כל דבר מונח, ואולי את כבר יודעת, אולי שמעת את שמי, או ישנה לך שם בשקט, לא חושדת בקיומי, אבל אני תמיד איתכם, רואה אתכם ואיני נראית, שאתה שמה נשאר לך ממני כעת, לבד על הגב, שבתות וחגים, לבד על הגב, שבתות וחגים. אתה יודע איך הרגשתי שראיתי אתכם ברחוב לא מזמן, הייתי בסדר